and today I'm going to start a new series on making Unturned in Unity. And to do this, you won't need their cycle bin. You will need Audacity, Unity, Blender, and GIMP. So yes, I will teach you guys how to use every single one of them. So first off, let's open Unity. And what I have done in Unity so far is I've just imported the standard assets for the environment and the characters. I don't know what all this other stuff is. Anyway, to do that, you would go to Asset, Import Package, Characters, and Asset Import Package, Environment. Another thing that I've done is I've hit File, Save Scene, and it will ask you what you would like to save it as, and I just said main. Because. Anyway, so let's learn the basic controls. So let's put a 3D object, before I make a turn, let's learn the basics of Unity. So first off, let's make a train. Do a little bit of scripting before we start actually making it. And, whoops, my bad. And after we make a train, let's go to Edit Textures, Add Texture, Select, and let's just type in grass. Add. And now, if you imported the characters package, you will be able to type in FPS, and the FPS controller will pop up. But I believe let's just use the rigid body FPS controller. And then once that's in the scene, you'll have to lift it up, because this little green thing around it is a sphere collider, and it will hit anything that it runs into, and it has rigid body, which means it'll fall. I'll show you what I mean by that. So say I add in a cube right here. Whoops. Go back to this. I add in a cube. Game object, 3D object, cube. Let me drag this forward. And it comes with a box collider on it. I will add component, physics, rigid body. That means it will fall. These are the shortcut keys. If you hit Q, you will be able to pan around the scene with the left click button. If you hit W, you will be able to move the object that you are moving. Oh, and the object that you are moving, in almost every single 3D modeling program and game engine that I know, the blue is the Z-axis, the red is the X-axis, and the Y is the green axis. That's one thing that I don't know about Unity. Usually the Z-axis is up and down, but it's not in Unity. Anyway, and then E rotates it. R, you can scale it along the X, Y, or Z, or the whole thing. And then T, usually you use in like 2D, make a UI and stuff, but you can also use it in the 3D. Anyway, so I'm going to hit E, and I'm going to tilt it a little. And then also, global and local. Global shows like the global direction on the map. Like, do you see how the cube's turned? If I turn it, and then if I go back to W, it's still up and down. But if I go to local, it's like that. And if I turn it a little, and go back to W, it's in its local position. So if I go back to global, I'll lift it up a little bit. And then it's Control D to duplicate. So Control D, move this a little, then Control D, and move this a little. Now they all have rigid bodies and box colliders. So if I hit play, hang on. I fell right through the ground for some weird reason that I do not know why that is. Huh. I'm gonna try and hit play again. Oh, I know what it is. The main camera. Let me delete that real fast. Alright. Now if I go back, hit play. Now they all fall because of the box collider and rigid body. So I can't walk into them or anything like that. So, with knowing that, let's make a basic day-night cycle. So how you would do that is, let me go to my assets, let me create a new folder, and let's call this scripts. But before I jump into making code and everything, you guys might be a bit overwhelmed. No, I'm joking. I'm going to go talk about the UI interface for Unity for a minute. The hierarchy is where it says everything that there is in the scene. See, like the cubes, each one I click is a different one. The terrain is the thing that we put and place that on. Then rigid body first person controller was what we dragged in, like when we imported the package for characters. That is what one of the things that it imported. Now, well, I'm going to rename this player. You can too. Player. Then the directional light is what we're going to do to make the day-night cycle. It basically controls the sun, which you can't, when you move it around, it doesn't change anything. It's the rotation that changes it. So, yeah. I'm going to switch this. As you can see, it's the sun's moving up and down. So that's what we're going to do basically in the code, is just tell it to rotate. Anyway, I'm going to switch this to 90 and 0 and 0. That has to be like that in order for the day-night cycle to work, so you should probably do that too. And then down here is the project, is everything that you've imported into Unity or made in Unity. Then the game is basically pretty descriptive what the game that you're playing. Oh yeah, one thing in scene is I click gizmos and I turn off the show grid, or else there will be like a really weird grid under it, and I don't really care for that, so I just turn off show grid. Alright, and if you right click on your mouse, and it doesn't matter which one of these you're in, and if you do W, A, S, and D, you can move around, and if you hit shift while clicking any one of them, it'll like double or maybe a little faster than double, I'm not sure, your speed, just to like go around the scene different ways. Anyway, with that being said, the inspector will give you like options for the character and such. I don't know what that is. Anyway, so there's also more windows that you can add on, but let's not do any of those right now. So I'm going to go into the, first off I'm going to create another folder and call it materials. Go into that, right click and create a new material. And let's call this, I don't know, what color? Red? Sure, let's red. And in there, I'm just going to make it red. Alright. And there's other options that we can do, because it gives you a little example of it down here. You can turn the smoothness of it up and it makes it like shiny. As you can see, there's like a little lens flare type thing. And then metallic just makes it like, I don't know, sort of a galvanized look-ish. So I'm just going to turn the smoothness down and the metallic off. Just make it sort of a plain, rough red. I'm going to drag it onto each one of these cubes. And after that, let's go to the scripts and just start on the day-night cycle. So assets, scripts, create a C# script, never JavaScript. JavaScript slows the game down a ton. Let's call this day-night cycle. Alright, now once you name the script and everything, you can double click it and it will start Visual Studio, which this will take a minute to open. I mean, my computer isn't really the best, but it still opened fairly fast. So once we get in here, day-night cycle, let's delete all this first. Alright, now let's create a variable. A variable you can use anytime throughout the code that you're writing, and you can just type in the name and you won't have to type in the number. Then later on when you go and change it, you can only have to change one number instead of like 20, for example. So I'm going to make a public float, which a float would be a number that could be like 0.7, 0.08. If I were to do public int, it would have to be like a whole number, like 7 or 9 or 24 or something like that. So I'm going to do a float just because you can get more precise. Or actually, you don't need a float for this, so I'm just going to make it int. And I'm going to make it day speed, I guess. I'm going to call it day speed. I don't equals, let's say 10. And you have to put a colon at the end of each line to tell the script that it's the end of that line. If I were to make this a float, I would have to put F at the end of the number, but it's not a float, so I don't have to. So let me go back to this. Enter. I'm going to make a method, public, void, or never mind, it doesn't need to be public, so I don't need to change it. Private, void, update, which the update method runs once every frame. So once every frame on your computer, this update method right here will run. So let's do transform.rotate. Let's make a new vector3, which a vector3 is like in 3D space with like the x, y, and z axis. If I were to do vector2, I believe it's just the x and y axis, or x and z, one of the two. But I'm going to do vector3 because it needs to move around. And I will do dot up because we want the sun to move up, obviously. Times day speed, the variable that we made up here. So we're calling that variable from here. And then times time dot delta time. And I'll put a colon at the end of that. That's the end. And that's all that we'll need to do is transform.rotate vector3 dot up times day speed times time dot delta time. And we're going to apply this to the sun, or the directional light, or whatever you want to call it. So let's go back into Unity, and let's drag this script to the directional light. Now once you're in the, or actually, there's a way to adjust the sun size if you want to. So let's go into this, go to create a new folder. Let's call this materials. Alright. Oh, we already had a materials folder. Alright, delete that. Oh yeah, let's go into the materials and create a new material. Let's call this my skybox. Sure, spelled it wrong. Alright, there we go. And what we are going to do is we are going to go shader, skybox, procedural, and it will generate a skybox for us. Now if you drag this into the scene and look at the sun, you're able to adjust like the sun size, say, or anything. So let me go back to normal. The atmosphere thickness, though, I've found that really neat. It'll like give you some pretty neat effects, which we might use later on, like to make dusk and dawn, but not as of right now. an exposure. It just makes everything super bright. So once we did that, we dragged the script into the directional light. And as you see right here, since in the script we made it a public variable, we're able to change it like in the inspector. So now if you click play, it should work. I hope. Click play, where's the sun? Yes, it is moving down. So it should get dark. And it is extremely dark, which we can change later on in the code. It gets a lot more complicated if you want to change that, and it's coming up over here. Nice. You could be able to turn this up or turn it down or anything like that. As of right now, I'm just going to switch it to like 0.1. Oops, 0.1. Not 1.1. Oh yeah, I forgot you can't change it to 0.1 because it's an integer. Let's change this to float. Float. And then you'll need to put an F at the end of this. Now you can change it to 0.1. Oh, not 0.11. 0.1. There we go. Now the sun should move a lot slower. If we were to find it. It's somewhere. Oh well. Anyway, I don't know what to do. Let's see. We should... Let's start making like the scene. We should start out in like a small town. A small townish type thing. Alright. First off, in Unturned, this is not what the ground looks like. So, let's see. We should make something like a lot more green and not as nearly as detailed. So, let's go into GIMP. GIMP will take a minute to start up. Looking for data files, starting extensions. Alright. File. Let's create a new file. And let's make this 720 I meant. Not 27. That's a bit off. 720 by 720. Alright, cool. Okay. Zoom out a little bit. And let's make this sort of like a hasty type greenish color. Like, yeah, like that. Alright. Select that brush. Turn the size up quite a bit. The flow and the rate up. Could probably just filled it with that, but oh well. Then let's click Filters, Render, Clouds, and Fog. Then this little window will pop up. Click that and go to a little bit brighter color, maybe. Alright, that'll work. I'm going to turn down the opacity to, say, 50. And turn the turbulence down a little. Okay. That didn't really change much, I guess. I'm going to go Filters, Repeat Fog. No, I'm going to hit Control Z twice and go to Filters, Render Clouds. I'm going to try this again, but with like a little bit of a lighter color. And turn the turbulence a little bit farther up in the opacity. Alright, okay. That looks better. So we'll go to File, Export As, and let's name this Grass. Now go to where you saved it, which I think I saved it in... yes. Assets. Let's save this. Let's create a new folder and call it Textures. Textures, alright. Enter. hit export, and it will export into Unity. And there we go. So it's going to Unity. There's a grass. Click your terrain, the little paintbrush thing, edit textures, add textures, select, and just type in, whoops, grass, add. Then I'm just going to zoom out, select the biggest brush there is, set the opacity all the way up, whoops, and just paint the terrain. Cool. And then when you are done, I'm going to save really fast. Then there you have it, play. And got the green train. It's got lines and stuff, we can fix that. Cubes fell perfectly. Push them around. And next time I am actually going to be messing around with rain. If you don't know what it is, go to rivaltheory.com. I think that's how you spell it. And click rain, and you can download it. So that's it. Basically, it's just an AI thing, can make stuff walk around. That's it for now. See you next time.